UBS raising the target on the S&P, and yeah, futures, it looks like it's at an all-time high right now from Trump's laying out a 30-day plan to end the war in Iran, and there's been dispute about that from Iran saying that they haven't agreed to fully everything. It's always kind of back and forth. They even one of the reports came that they told Iran to just don't say anything publicly, like to anything that he says publicly, because anything that he says publicly is just propaganda for the American public. Don't worry about it. Like don't even worry about it. And then we'll talk about the Abraham Accords. He kind of snuck that in there. He was on a conference call with Saudi Arabia, UAE, Qatar, Turkey, and they said like he said that that's part of the agreement that everybody has to agree to the Abraham Accords. And he said when he said that, it caught everybody off guard. Nobody spoke, and he had to make a joke to get them to laugh. He was like, are you still on the line? If you don't know about the Abraham Accords, that's a whole nother conversation. But there's a lot going on right now. But he's pushing that the war is over, and that's has the stock market up at an all-time high right now. So where are we at with this target? Where are we at with the war allegedly ending? Stocks going to the moon as a result of that. Where are we at?
The war isn't over. I haven't talked to any U.S. intel, but I have got a couple war sources. That's not over. So that part is manipulation. But what I will say, due to rising inflation, global debt to GDP is 308%. The only place you can really put the market is either into a business, stocks, or tech companies pre-IPO. So there has to be capital that is deployed. My end of year target, I know UBS is, and I talked about this in the Stock Club last month, but my end of year target for the ES could go as high as 85.35. There's no reason to short this market. I know everyone keeps looking for a short. Ben Carlson told us, like on Stock Club call yesterday, everyone keeps looking to recreate Michael Burry's short, but the real trade, and I've said this before, is not the big short, it's to ride the market up endlessly. I have us ending up probably at 85.35 by end of the year. If not by March of next year, we should hit that target. Hold for the long term. And we, not only that, this is the greatest class. Like these last 10 years, these are the greatest class of tech companies we've ever seen. Like when you pair NVIDIA, AMD, Microsoft, OpenAI, Databricks, Anthropic, you can take any other, and I asked Ben, like, have you seen a class with this much quality? No. Like one of these companies, if you ported them back into the early 1990s, they would smash IBM in 80s and 90s. So there's no benefit. And I said it before, but all the optimists and all the bears make all the money. Like being a pessimist, you may sell books or subscriptions, but in terms of creating real wealth, you have to hold for the long term. 85.35 is my long term target for the S&P.
Yeah. I had that said last week. I said 7,900 to 8,100. I think I'm going to lead more toward that 8,100. If you're looking at the futures market, I think the first thing I looked at, obviously the market was closed today, but the first thing I looked at was where's oil, because that'll tell me how we're going to look on to tomorrow morning. And so oil, I think it was down. It got down to $90 a barrel.
Yeah, it got to 89.
It's creeping up right here now. It's at 91. But you can see how the market's responding. All the large, the NASDAQ, the S&P, the Dow are all up on that anticipation, which is great news for the companies that we invest in. Because when you see prices go down, then you obviously start thinking about consumer spend. Consumer spends look pretty good, even with gas prices going up. I know the average price in I think all 50 cents is now $4. Summer months, you start to see more spend in travel. So that is always good. That means that, rates potentially, and I know the new Fed chair got sworn in Friday. Yeah. Again, historically, that usually means that there's going to be a down cycle at some point. We haven't seen that yet, but there's some hints that there might be some interest rate cuts, and there might be some like pressure to do that. So we'll see.
For sure.
Yeah, we're in an unprecedented time. Just think about 5 years ago, how many companies had a market cap of $1 trillion?
$1 Trillion. Yep.
We have 13 right now.
Yeah, it was Saudi and Aramco and Apple now.
Yeah,
Like,
13.
even think about this, like $100 billion company isn't even taken serious anymore. Until you get to $250 billion, no one has mass interest anymore.
Yeah. We just saw Cerebus and I think that the valuation was 155 billion. And they
Yep.
were saying that like, oh, it's a small IPO.
It's a disappointment.
Small, like in context to what SpaceX could potentially do at nearly 2 trillion. We've already talked about Anthropic and OpenAI at 1 trillion. These companies are IPOing at $1 trillion, which is going to add to it. Micron is on the cusp potentially of being the next $1 trillion company. Walmart passed it. But there's real revenue. It's an unprecedented time to not be part of this market. We talk about one of the biggest mistakes is not partaking in the market.
Yeah.
That's
but
that
midterm drawdown with the new Fed chair, I wonder what that's going to, like you said, he's going to be forced to go in a particular direction. I think that will cause a midsummer turnaround for sure.
Yeah.
Don't panic in July and August.
I had a phone call about that. I was like, well, I'm bullish on the market. And I'm like, in midterm years, they're like, well, why do you say you're bullish and then you give us information like that? And I'm like, I want to give you the total picture. So nothing surprises you. I'm going to give you all the information that I can possibly give you so that you could have it and you can make informed, precise decisions. That's what it's about. Right? Like I can't press the button for you, but I can give you information. And so I want you to know all of that. I don't want, hey, you never told me about midterm elections and how that could potentially affect the market. Well, here it is, right? You never told me about August and September and October and how volatile that can be. Well, we're saying it.
Proceed with caution. Because Ian, you did bring up something last week where you said in modern history, there really has been only 3 years of a market downturn. That's true for sure. But there was also a flat for 10 years in early 2000s, but also
in tech,
a lot of the reason why there hasn't been a market downturn in 10 years is because it's been artificially inflated by the amount of money that's been pumped into the economy, which is not sustainable long term. So there's global economic issues at play here that are bigger than companies. They're bigger. They're a bigger program. It's a bigger program that's looking shaky. So companies look strong, but the bigger program is on very shaky ground right now.
Is he gonna make the program hit the printer or no?
You can't. You've already exhausted that option. I don't think how long can you
since 2020. And you, to your point, you can argue without that money printer, since COVID, we would have relived that flat decade.
You think?
Hell yeah.
With the level of innovation?
It would have been worse than 2008. 100%.
I've always said
you say from 2020 on.
It would have been worse than the Great Recession.
25% of all capital and all cash ever printed happened between 2020 and 2021.
Yeah. Okay.
They just put money into the economy.
So
PPP
much
loans and there's so much stuff. So that's
like,
not sustainable.
Think about this. Even in our community, even being a decamillionaire isn't celebrated like how it would have been 10 years ago.
Oh, no.
A decamillionaire 10 years ago would have been a lifetime generational crown and achievement, especially like if you're in the Midwest or now if you're a decamillionaire in East Coast or West Coast, that's damn near, it feels like $1 million and some change in a smaller city. I've never seen as many people talk about potentially getting to 40 and 50 and $60 million. And it was even posted earlier today. I think they said it's like 7 to 8 million people that have a net worth higher than $9 to $13 million. That's because of the money printer.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So but that's not sustainable.
Are you bearish or bullish?
No, you can be both. I'm just
saying
saying
what you are.
When?
You bullish or bearish
for when?
I'm bullish on the stock market, bearish on the economy.
Okay. See?
Yes. But there's going to collide eventually. The bearish on the stock market is going to come. The bearish on the economy is going to impact the stock market eventually.
Even with that, the circular investment into AI and the data center thing we got to talk about too on Blackout, and how it's affecting water supply.
The environmental impact.
Oh my God. Like, it's a real concern. Even if I know people like sometimes make fun when I'm like, hey, I'm in Mexico, I'm studying the ocean, the waves of the ocean. There's more sarcasm than ever. But even sea water temperature has raised 4 degrees in the last year and a half. For those you don't know, it takes a lot of power to warm up a sea. That will have great ramifications. And with the water supply drying up literally and being tainted in the Midwest and Southeast, we're going to have an ecological crisis like something we haven't seen if we don't get this shit in order really fast.
What do you think about the circular economy idea, right? Like, we saw, obviously, Oracle got hit, Microsoft got hit. That story really hasn't changed, but those stocks have kind of not rebounded all the way back to their all-time
They've
high.
stabilized.
They've stabilized, but the story really hasn't changed, right? And so it almost feels like, was it over sensationalized? Definitely needed to be called out so that people are aware of it. People sold out of those stocks, but you're starting to see. We just talked about Microsoft. Even Nvidia was a part of that. I mean, they're pretty much the centerpiece of this. But it hasn't been affected the same way as it was, let's say, late October, early November, when we started to hear more talks about it, and people started to unpack this quote unquote circular economy.
Like any Ponzi, it's under sensationalized.
Alleged,
right?
Yeah.
So I'll say, for the record, it's good going back to the relationship part. The put protection for a lot of these companies is Hefe and DC. I think one of these companies could have had a cataclysmic restructuring if it was not for the relationship there. And I don't think we've seen the last of it. I think some of the companies that have gotten beat up are not favorable with him there. And do I think they'll never let us have like the crash like we did in 2008.
Yeah.
But if you ask anybody in tech that a couple of these companies should not have gone under already, they're lying.
So Intel would fit in there, right? It's the reason why you save Intel, but you let Spirit Airlines go, right? Just in terms of companies we could have.
It's a selection. Yep.
And then have NVIDIA invest in Intel.
Or if not, then when I go see Gigi, then your business in China is going to be restructured and all of it goes to Huawei. My grandmother used to tell me all the time in politics, enemies make strange bedfellows sometimes. Like, you're going to have to make some deals and have some concessions with some people you don't want to fucking do business with if you want to stay alive. NVIDIA and that Intel situation was a prime example. It was a prime example.
That's a fact. Well, shout out to everybody that came over from the Knicks game. They're up by 25, so that's over. It's over. They swept. They won sweep. Shout out to everybody that, has made a decision to invest in their education. We love the Knicks, support them. But man, you guys, Market Mondays, man, it's you guys versus the world. Because you are the dedicated. You are the dedicated few. It's like the Marines. You only need a few good men and women. And you guys are the few good men and women that's out there.
Love y'all. Appreciate y'all.
That's changing the world. You've chosen education over entertainment, and that's something in this world that's extremely difficult, and that's very rare. So kudos to you guys.
And you brought up Huawei, and I think that's a company that people should know because of the innovation and the importance of China. And right, so there was a new article that came out in the journal. I think CNBC covered it as well. Huawei is now trying to create semiconductors that will go inside of compute and will go inside of phones, which is a direct competitor to Apple.
Apple for sure. Yep.
Apple for sure, but also NVIDIA in somewhat. And this is a lot of time when you have to read and actually like take contextual clues out. And so, yeah, potentially it could be a competitor, but they said they won't be online until 2031. So, I mean, take that. But innovation's happening, right? This is a long-term game. This is not like, hey, who wins the next 3 years? It's who wins the race 20, 30, 40 years out. And so the fact that they're innovating at this level right now, and that they have, again, NVIDIA is the leader now, but who knows what that looks like in 5 years in terms of that market, which is why I'm sure he's trying to get back into that market.
Yeah. And Huawei phones are better and tablets are better than Apple tablets and phones right now.
Their technology is sick.
Sick, bro.
Yeah. We were, what country was that? We were in, I think it was Senegal. And I mean, Huawei, they had a display at this economic forum, and the technology that they're displaying is just like,
yeah,
it's ridiculous.